Hi, everyone, and welcome to Signature West Podcast. I'm your host, Sam West from Palm Springs, California. My guest today is Rick Karatas, and he's the author of the book called Rainbow Relatives. One of the chapters of the book is titled Daddy Left Mommy for Tommy. Before you get excited about what that means, let's find out from the man himself, and we'll go from there. Hi, Rick.
Oh, there we go. Hi, how you doing?
How are you?
Good.
So, before we get into what that chapter means, let's start from the beginning. So you start writing songs at the age of 14.
Yeah.
Uh, what happened at the age of 14? That's very young. I mean,
I don't know. I just remember having ideas for songs. I didn't like play guitar or instruments or anything. I just got ideas for little melodies in my head or lyrics, mostly lyrics and stuff. And I just write them down. I think I was about 14 because I had a little book I remember of the different songs.
and then you went from songs to screenplays.
Yeah, well, songs to like sketches. I started writing little sketches, like comedy sketches, and I would shoot those. I never thought I would write full screenplays or books or anything. And then I had an idea for a screenplay, and it went from there. And the ideas kept coming. Yeah.
So it kind of happened organically. It wasn't really, you didn't sit beginning to say, I want to do a screenplay. Like some people do. Some people that's
Yeah,
the
no, and
start.
some people write a screenplay to put themselves in it as an actor, to be the main actor in it, and
Right.
they make it their own project. I just write whatever the story is. If I fit in one of the parts, great, and I can maybe be in it. But
Right.
I just write whatever comes to me. Yeah.
I had one of your, I had a guest that you wrote a song for, Adrian Christian. You wrote his
Yes.
song, Midnight Will Be Clear.
Yeah,
How,
that was a
how did that
Christmas.
happen?
Yeah, a Christmas song I wrote, and I had done a little video to it myself, for fun. And Adrian was in the video, and he loved the song so much that when he was recording his Christmas CD in Nashville, he said, "I want to record this." I'm like, "I would love for you to record it," because he sings
Right.
much better than I do. So yes, and we released it. He released it in November of last year, and it got some airplay on radio stations, and it's on iTunes, and so he did a good
That's great.
job. Yeah,
It's a nice song. It's a nice song.
thanks.
So, and then from there, you start writing books.
Yes,
And then you wrote the book, um, Rainbow Relatives.
yes. I wrote Rainbow Relatives a few years ago, and then which we're going to mostly talk about, and then a new one after that was How Catering Sucked the Life Right Out of Me. So always a comedy theme usually with me.
Except Rainbow is not really a comedy. Rainbow.
No, but I use humor in it to kind of get points across, but yeah, it's not. It's more
But the
educational.
topic is, yeah. So that took 5 years to write. It's a long time. But it's not that long, but it's a long time. Why did you want to write the book? First of all, what was the why behind the book?
Yeah. Quite a few years back, I was talking to my sister in Delaware, and I'm in California, and I was asking her if her kids, my nieces and nephews, knew about my orientation, and she's like, "Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure. I don't know how to talk about that. I wish there was a book on that." So I'm like, "Oh, that's a good idea." And so that night, I came up with a title, "How to Tell the Kids About Uncle Mary and Aunt Butch," but that was too corny and too whatever. So, but I wanted to have some humor in it. So, and then I just went from there. But that's where it came from. Um, in my own family, I wasn't sure if they were very young, her kids at the time too. So now they're much older.
But did you have an idea? How do you want to dissect the book, and what was the process? Like, how you gonna start? How you gonna be in the middle? How you gonna end it? Or did it just?
When it first came to me, I had no idea. And what I did was the first chapter, was because it was coming out to nieces and nephews. That was kind of the topic I started with. And again, I use humor, so that chapter is called "There Was No Monster in Your Closet, but Your Uncle Was." So
Right.
And then my other sister told me about Leslie Newman, who has a lot of children's books with LGBT themes to read to kids. And so I interviewed her, and what would happen was I would interview people with different, then I thought about topics. Okay, same-sex couples who have kids, transgender, when two moms and two dads, a lot of families are that. So then I would interview people, and they would always refer me to someone else, or interview this person, interview that person.
So how many did you interview altogether?
Probably 35 or 40, I think. And so it's their real stories, and about how they just dealt with different issues and situations. I even interviewed Shelley Wright, the country singer who came out, and Del Shores, who wrote and directed Sordid Lives. So that was kind of a fun
So,
chapter.
so I don't know. I have nieces and nephews, and I have siblings, and to this day, nieces and nephews, the topic never comes up. It's like an unspoken topic. So when you interviewed 40 people, was all these stories the same? I can't even imagine.
No, I mean, some people like, and again, it's a lot of times it doesn't really come up. It's like if someone comes over with their partner, they just don't know, but it's not, it's, a lot of families are very silent. They don't talk about, which is okay as long as you're not like hiding stuff, because then it looks like, it's something to be ashamed of or something's wrong. But a lot of families don't, and you don't need to talk, you show by example also. It's just every family and every person is like everyone else in a way. Like, so,
So the
um,
chapter 2, which is Daddy Left Mommy for Tommy, who'd you interview for that?
that one, a few people who like someone that her like was married. She was married for 15 years, had 3 kids, and then her husband came out as gay. So how she dealt with that, and with this kind of with the school, kids being kind of can be cruel. So she didn't want the cousins to know they went to the same school and that kind of thing. Um, Another guy whose kids didn't take it too well when he was telling them that why he separated from their mom because he was gay, and um, they were Latino, and that's kind of has the macho,
Right,
you
culture.
know, thing to it. So yeah, people. So that chapter's about when one parent turns out to be gay and what happens. I also, well, I talked to a few therapists in one chapter, and that subject comes up a little bit too, because a lot of times there's a divorce, and it's hard enough for kids in a divorce, but when a parent is now gay, also it makes it even harder. So, and it's funny that title. I didn't come up with that title. I came up with every title of each chapter,
Who
except
did?
someone else. Someone else thought of that one for me, which I was very creative. I thought of many of my chapter titles, but like the transgender chapter is "Kids, Your Father Well, She Has Something to Tell You." So again, there's serious things like bullying, and especially with
Well,
this
then
chapter.
chapter 7, religion, pray for the gay bashers to go away, or to bashers away.
Yeah.
What was that about? I mean,
So a lot of the biggest issue, which again, the adults have the issues, not the kids. A lot of times,
right.
it's kind of ironic, but the biggest thing a lot of times is not religion itself, but the way people use it to discriminate or to take people's rights away, or say, or to just if saying God is saying you're wrong for being gay. So if kids are gay or they have a gay parent or relative, now they're being told there's something wrong with their parent, or they're going to hell or whatever. So that chapter, I interviewed even some openly gay pastors for that chapter, like Gerald Walls, who's in North Hollywood, is a pastor there. And so that chapter, yeah, is just on a couple of stories from people. Some people had relatives who had prayer warriors, and they would be getting letters from strangers how they needed to change their ways. And it's funny, the religion thing. I was doing a book signing in I think Maryland, and a woman was walking by. She saw the signs. Well, what's the book about? And I told her, or is it a conservative perspective or whatever? And I said, or I just said, I forget what I told her, but I could tell she knew. She kind of was a little bit put off by it, and she kind of
Well, the
walked away.
cover of your book and the title has nothing to do with gayness. The
Yeah.
cover, I
So
mean, you can never tell. I couldn't
right.
tell.
Yeah. So I told her it's about talking to kids about LGBT families and friends and
And she
topics,
said,
and she was kind of like, I took it as, are you telling people that's okay? I mean, it's okay to be, or you're not? I kind of got that. She came to me later and she said, listen, I wish you all the luck. She goes, I have a cousin who's gay. I love him to death, but
but, there's a but.
I believe in God, and I believe he believes it's wrong. And two men should not be married. And her intentions were good. I mean, but you can't really argue or have a conversation. If somebody's saying God is telling them something, I can't say, well, God is wrong. I just have to kind of, I kind of said something to her, because she said her brother, or not brother, cousin, had a husband or something. I said, well, he must not feel welcome in your house. Well, why? What do you mean? I love him, but you're telling him his husband, you're not okay with their relationship because of religion. Again, it's the way they
So,
interpret religion.
so here's my confusion. Were your audience catered toward the ones that can't understand or have the capacity to talk to their kids, or was the audience for everybody that doesn't know how to talk, like the religious ones or the basher ones or the non-believers? Who was the target audience? Because my sibling, for example, that book could not apply to them. They wouldn't know how to even. They wouldn't. They just would not have the conversation. They're not gonna talk to their children about who I am or what I
Well,
am.
so the book is good for people like that to read, or are you asking people I interviewed for it? I don't
No, the people, the audience that you're, the readers that you were targeting.
the audience is parents, well, especially for parents who aren't comfortable or don't know how to bring up the subject, or they themselves don't know. And it's even for people who think they know, oh, I'm okay with gay people, I know how to handle this, I know how to talk to kids. But there's certain things they don't realize that are still shouldn't be issues out there in the real world, but
Right.
are. So it kind of I've heard from people like, yeah, I thought I knew everything I knew, but it gave them a new perspective. My aunt, who's 82, and again, they were brought up in a certain time, and
Right.
she probably had certain beliefs, and she said it really changed her mind about certain things, especially even two mom and two dad families. A lot of people have said, well, if they're missing a mother now or missing the father, isn't that a problem?
But is your aunt 82? Is she? I still want to. She's not the majority. She's not the common 82-year-old. I mean, luckily for you, she was like, oh great, I understand now. But I guess I'm wondering for all the ones that so regimented and they're so close-minded, and they've been raised a certain way for 82 years. Their parents were told them blah blah blah. It's embedded in them.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, some people you're not gonna. They wouldn't even read a book like this. They wouldn't pick it up. So
Right.
yeah, if someone is closed, they're not going to change their mind about anything. I mean, and we kind of saw that with the elections and
Right. Right.
politics. Like they don't care about facts. They don't care about just
Right.
they're set in their ways. Nothing's going to change their mind. So yeah, people like that. But what's interesting? Another signing. There was a woman came up. She was probably in her 60s, and she asked if in the Q&A, like, is it a choice or something like that, or to be gay? And I said, no, you're pretty much born that way. But when she came up to get her book signed, she told me the reason she asked was her granddaughter just came out as a lesbian who was 15, and the grandmother herself was having trouble with that. She just didn't understand it.
And
But here she was
how old was the grandmother, do you think?
she was probably in her 60s, I think. Her granddaughter was
Yeah.
15.
Yeah.
But here she was getting this book, attending this
Making
lecture,
making
whatever,
an effort.
and trying to, yeah, so that's all you can ask. And that, so hopefully that's the goal of the book, is those kind of stories in it will help people understand. And like you said, some people will just never get it or never understand. Sometimes if someone sees a movie, it changes their mind. I had someone, she read my book, she loved it. She's a teacher, and she said she used to think it was wrong, yeah, for same-sex marriage, but a movie she saw, I forget the name of it, changed her mind on that. So movies are, and I mentioned movies in the book and TV shows that also are helpful with the
So out,
characters on them.
so out of the 40, was any challenging ones or sort of like, God, I can't get through you people? Like, were all the 40s happy clappy? They wanted to like kind of great stories, or who was the challenging ones, if there were
Yeah,
any?
most of them were good, and I interviewed some transgender people, and for me that was new. I didn't know as much about that. I think most people, if I asked them to be interviewed and they agreed, they obviously were okay with it. Some people are more timid than others, and maybe don't share as much and all that. But most of them were very nice. I got to meet, and again, this is pre-COVID, so I could actually meet a lot of people in person if they were close enough. But I also did a lot of we didn't do Zoom yet even then, but I
Right.
did phone calls, and I also did surveys online. A lot of people filled out surveys. So, uh,
So
yeah.
speaking of the survey, what was that like? What is the survey in that category, in that
Yeah, I did. I
context?
think 5 or 6 different ones. Someone told me about Survey Monkey or something like that, and so I put a question. So if the question was for people who come out to nieces and nephews, and so I came up with like 6. I don't remember what the questions are right now, but different questions. Maybe how old they were when you came out to them, how they took it. Did girls react differently than
The
boys? And
boys.
so they would answer those questions. And I just got a small group of people that went online and did that. But it was interesting. Yeah, they were anonymous, the
Right.
surveys, so those I don't really know. And it was interesting, like the age of when to come out or bring up the subject. Almost always was younger is better, because if you wait, it seems like something's wrong with it, or you're hiding something, or so. And if they're asking questions, you don't need to answer more than they're asking. Just but and again, most if they're younger, they're okay with it. As they're getting older, if they're in junior high school, they're hearing some negative things, so now it's harder to,
It's also when, I mean, this happened when I came out in the 70s. It's very different than coming out now, 2021 or 2020. It's a whole different ballgame. School system is different. You know,
yeah,
bullies might exist here and there, but it's just a very different generation.
yeah. And it
Um,
is much easier now. So much has changed, but it's amazing how in certain areas of the country that are conservative or because of religion or whatever, it's not as, it's a bigger issue than it should be, or you'd think. And even with, you could get fired for being gay. I think you still can in some states, or I
yeah,
think maybe they finally,
Florida.
it keep, it keeps going back and forth. So if your parents are gay, if your relatives are gay, and you're a kid, you're like, wait, my father can be fired from his job just because he's gay. So they're being told there's something wrong
Right,
with that. So
right.
yeah,
So chapter 10, which you have a support group resources for the family of the LGBTQ. Uh, what were the resources? Obviously, some people don't even know they exist.
yeah. Well, some of them I didn't know existed even, and I should have. Like PFLAG is a great organization for parents of gay and lesbian
I didn't know about
teenagers.
PFLAG. What is PFLAG?
Okay, so it was originally parents of and friends of lesbians and gays.
Ah, okay.
Now it's a little bit more, so it's a great, so they have meetings, and a lot of times the parents come with the kids, sometimes they come by themselves, but they get to interact with other parents whose kids have come out to them. And it's amazing to see how just hearing other people talk, and it's okay, it helps those other people. It's a really great support group. And I don't know, I met someone somewhere, and she, I think, told me about it, and she invited me to a meeting because I told her I was writing this book about, talking to kids about LGBT issues and all that. And it was so, I just felt, and I've gone to their meetings quite a few more times, and I even marched with them in gay pride parades. And Betty DeGeneres, Ellen's mom, marched with us twice and stuff. So it's a great organization, PFLAG. And then there's another one called Collage, which is for kids who are, again, I think have gay parents, and it's an organization, they can do things together, and they have that bond and stuff. And Family Equality Council was also another good organization. I mean, there's really quite a few. I forget how many I mentioned in that chapter. But yeah, I got to really meet some really good people, and they do a lot of good work for families. And some of them are for Top Luck Club is for two dad families. It's just for two dad families. So it's an
Top.
organization out here in California.
It's called. What's it called again?
Pop Luck Club. Which one? Pop Luck Club.
Never heard of it. Yeah.
It's for two dad families.
Only for
Yeah,
two
they're
dad family.
So I interviewed them. Yeah, and they do things together as they and I interviewed. I'm gonna forget some of these names, but yeah, that's a good organization too.
So the chapter about the closet, the uncle in the closet, was that about you?
Well, that's because that's where the whole book idea came from. So I made that the first chapter, and yeah, it was a lot of it was because it was like you, we didn't talk about, and I wasn't bringing a companion home. I live far away, so when I was home for the holidays, I was by myself. It wasn't like I'm
Right.
bringing some strange. Although
No
years
one, no
ago I
one
did.
asked the
Right.
question.
So that's why even my other sister's kids, I didn't know if they knew. So my book was in a way of kind of, if they didn't know yet, this is
They do
the way of
now.
telling them. I dedicated the book to them, on the second page, and then for Christmas they all got a copy. But then again, they were older by this point, and because I was writing the book, I was like, okay. My other sister said, well, should I just let them know? I said, yeah, this way it's not a surprise. And she found out that her daughter already figured it out. I don't know how old she was, like 13. Yeah.
So here's the other question. What happens, I don't know if you know the answer or not. I mean, I can tell you in my case, when the kids are okay, but the parents are not. Because we're in a generation now where the kids get older and they have no issue, but the parents were, like in my case, a different generation. They just cannot uproot from that. They can't even find a way to become even human, in my opinion.
Yeah, no,
So
and a lot of people who that did happen to. Yeah, the adults are okay. Yeah, I mean the nieces and nephews are okay, but the brother or sister of them is not. My siblings were all okay with it. I think once I came out very, very late though, like really late to my parents.
How late?
But like in my 30s, early 30s, I think, or early 30s, I think, something like that.
That's a little late.
So 5 years ago. No, it's more. Yeah. So. And then, yeah, like you said, the nieces and nephews of the younger generation, they are really more okay with it. In fact, that's what I interviewed Caroline Shores, who's the daughter of Del Shores, and she was kind of saying that this new generation really gets, and with transgender too, it's again, that's one's
It's
a little bit
very
harder.
problematic, very
Yeah,
problematic. Yeah.
but the younger people, because they're they're just more, I don't want to say educated, but not as
It's just a different generation. It's just,
yeah,
you
they're
can't,
seeing more. There's more information for them to realize, and there's more people that people know. This is the thing. Once people know a gay person or a transgender person, or um, and they get to know them, they go, oh, they're just like everyone else. If they've never met anyone, uh, they're just going by what they've heard or what's been told to them for years and years, or what people used to believe. Yeah.
and what their school is like when they grew up, as far as their parents' school when they grew up, that's all plays a role. So was any remedy in the end? Because I can't find a remedy in my
Oh,
case.
for you mean talking to them and stuff? You mean
Well,
or,
to the parents, because the parents used to
oh,
know.
I mean, again, it's one of those things. And again, if someone's older, they're more stuck in their ways too, and they're more stubborn. Or so if they're, oh, I think sometimes it's just a time thing.
In the
As
next
time goes,
lifetime.
well, hopefully not that long. No, but I think some people do. A lot of people when they find out their kids are gay, they're not okay with it at all. It's just a show. But then they just need time
Right.
to, because their whole world has been like, oh wait, this isn't what. And it just depends how open-minded they are,
Right.
or how,
Right.
I don't know
Right.
what
Right.
is
Yeah.
liberal or whatever. But if they have, I mean, which as if you're gay, it takes you time to accept it for yourself. So in some ways, you
I
can
had no
kind of
time at
try.
all. I was fine the day one.
You were okay with it right away? Oh,
To day
really?
one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think you're in the minority, but I think that's a better way to be.
Yeah.
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 So, um,
So do we have time to catch on the last one? You just wrote another book,
yeah.
um, which titled "Catering to Suck the Life Out of Me."
Yes.
Was that because you were a caterer, or was that because you
I
had the life
I
sucked out of you? Is it because all of the above?
I've been doing catering for because I do acting and writing and all that. A lot of times, most creative people or musicians, artists do a side thing, and a lot of times it's catering,
Right.
because that is a good thing. It's the flexibility is great. You can be an out of work actor, but not a starving out of work actor.
Right.
So I've done it in New York first for many years, and then I moved out to California, and there were just a lot of nightmares, and I call them flustercucks. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put this in a book. Like, it's because it's things that happen. Plus, a lot of guests don't know what they should and shouldn't do at a catering event, or what they're doing is making it a nightmare for everything from when you come out with a tray of food and attacking. There was one guy I saw at an event where he came out with a tray of food. This wasn't the catering company I worked for. And he was so tired of them attacking them, he put the tray of hors d'oeuvres on the floor. And the people still just dove down and attacked him. And then he picked up the empty plate and goes, "You people are crazy!" And then he ran away. But I mean, people sometimes are like that
You
at some of
couldn't
these
write the shit
events.
up you couldn't even write the shit up if you tried, but I guess you wrote it down. I mean, you couldn't make it up, but
Right. I mean, there was a lot of fun. I worked like a 3-year-old birthday party for twins. It was a $5 million event, which is crazy. Like, 3 years old, they're not going to remember it. And they did the Willy Wonka theme, and they actually put a chocolate river in their backyard, and they had synchronized swimmers in the 3 pools that they had, and $50,000 bars of caviar on the table. So there's a lot of fun stories. I mean, not every event was horrible. A lot of them were kind of interesting and fun. And celebrities, I got to see Olivia Newton-John sing at an event, who I love. So, but there's a lot of humorous stuff in there. And I also have some stories from other people that I've worked with. And one of them is on actually The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. She plays Zelda on there, Matilda Sidakis. And my friend Doug Campbell, I interviewed because I used to cater with him, and he's directed like 20 Lifetime movies since then. So I like to see people who've done other creative things. But it was a fun book to write, and during the pandemic, I had a lot of more time. I'm like, well, let me just work more on this,
right.
and let me just put it out. And so I did. The Rainbow Relatives was published by Skyhorse Publishing, and I got Matt Wagner as a literary agent. But the catering book, I just self-published and put that out. So
Right.
they're both on Amazon and stuff. And
So
and then
out of songwriting, out of scripts, out of the books, which one would you say I love the most?
I think, in a way, songwriting. I mean, it's quicker than writing a 90-page script, or 100-page
Well, I mean,
script.
I see easy. I mean, obviously, easy is not necessarily funner, but what's
But
out of the three? Where would you say my heart is?
it's probably still there because I do love music, but I love writing anything. Whatever idea comes, like I have like 10 or 12 feature film scripts, and one of them is Walk on My Pride, which is on Amazon Prime, but the others are sitting here gathering dust. Yeah, but they'll get. I know some of them will get made, and but yeah, so probably songs, and then scripts next. Screenplays. I do enjoy it. It's a lot of work, but I do enjoy it a lot. Books I never thought I'd write, but I had the idea for that book, and then the Rainbow Relatives.
And then
Yeah, and then How Can You Suck the Life Out of Me, and I do have a gift humor book I'm working on. But I think I'm going to use the word easier again to write songs than the other ones, and I probably enjoy them all. I do, obviously, that's why I do it, but yeah.
Rick, it was a pleasure.
Yes, thank you.
I learned a lot.
Okay.
So both books are on Amazon.
And I think, Calabasas, Barnes & Noble has 4 signed copies, or a few signed copies, so if people live there.
The best of luck to you. Thank you for
you.
coming on, and be safe.
You
To
too.
everyone else, see you next time, next week that is, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care, Rick.
Thanks.